In this video, we're going to dive into the world of pulse MIG welding. I'm going to show you its advantages and disadvantages and when would be the best time to use it. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Bob. I'm from the YouTube channel Making Stuff, and today I would like to thank YesWelder for inviting me to create this video. And after you watch this video, I would like to invite you to head on over to my channel and check it out. For this video, I'm going to be using the new YesWelder DP200. This welder is capable of single and dual pulse welding, and it will weld aluminum quite well without the need for a spool gun. I recently made an in-depth review on this machine. If that's something you're interested in, be sure and check out the links down in the description of this video. And speaking of aluminum, it will be the easiest material for me to demonstrate the welding processes as well as the single and dual pulse features of the DP200. However, keep in mind that the pulse features will also work with stainless steel and mild steel. Over on my channel, I recently completed an aluminum mini jet boat project, and the entire aluminum hull was welded by myself using the same techniques that I'm going to show you today. For the setup of this machine, I'm going to be using a regular MIG torch that has a graphene liner installed. The graphene liner is included with the DP200 and is an important part of using the machine without a spool gun because it has a slick lining and the MIG wire will flow through the hose up to the MIG torch with less friction than a regular liner. I'm also going to be using a 53-56 wire with a 0.045 inch diameter. This is also important because the larger diameter will make the wire more rigid and it will have less tendency to jam or bird nest inside of the welder. The aluminum that I'm using today is just going to be 1/8 inch scrap, and of course if you're welding aluminum you've got to use 100% argon gas. Now before we jump into pulsed MIG welding, you need to have a good understanding about the two most popular ways to MIG weld aluminum, which are short circuit transfer and spray transfer. With the short circuit process, the wire is pushed out of the MIG torch when the trigger is pulled, and when it comes into contact with the workpiece, it completes an electrical circuit. This causes electricity to flow through the filler wire, and when it does, it melts the filler wire, causing it to form a weld pool, which also causes the electrical circuit to open and no more electricity flows through the wire. That is, until the wire being pushed out of the torch touches the workpiece again and the whole process repeats itself. This happens over and over many times a second until the trigger on the torch is no longer being pulled. When this electrical circuit is open and closed many times a second, that causes the popping and spattering you may be familiar with if you've ever MIG welded before, and it can be worse when you're MIG welding aluminum. Here's a piece of aluminum that I welded using short circuit MIG welding. You can see all of these tiny ripples that are in the weld. This is caused by that electrical circuit being closed and open many times per second. There also is just a little bit of spatter, but this weld really doesn't look all that bad. So now let's talk about the spray transfer method. With the spray transfer method, the feed rate of the filler wire and the voltage is increased so that when you pull the trigger, it creates an arc that stays on all the time, kind of like what you would see with TIG welding. When the tip of the wire touches the arc, it melts into tiny droplets and is sprayed into the weld pool. Some of the advantages of spray transfer are less spatter. That's because that arc stays on constant, and you also get better weld penetration. Spray transfer is also great for aluminum, but there is a downside. The disadvantages of spray transfer are that it can only be used in the flat and horizontal positions, and it can also add more heat into your workpiece. Here's an example of spray transfer. You can see that the weld is more flat. That's because the weld puddle is more fluid and hotter. Also, the tiny ripples are gone and there's little to no spatter. That's because the arc stays on during the entire weld process. The weld did get more penetration, but if we look on the bottom, you can see the heat was starting to soak through. So this is where pulse MIG welding comes into play. It's just a modified form of spray transfer that combines the best of both short circuit and spray transfer methods. Pulse welding, also known as single pulse welding, achieves this by adding a pulse to the current. It alternates between two current values, a peak value and a background value. We can see this if we take a look at this chart. You can see how there is a pulse between the 115 amps I have my machine set to and the background amperage. The amount of background current and how fast it alternates is set by the welder, and it can happen between tens or even hundreds of times per second. The settings used by the DP200 for pulse MIG welding are fixed. That means that the background current and the frequency cannot be changed. However, the DP200 is a synergic machine. That means that it is programmed to automatically make changes while you're welding so that you can get the best weld quality possible. That also means that the single pulse feature is either on or off. By adding this pulse to the current, it will allow the use of the spray transfer mode, but by reducing that current on the background level, it makes the current lower in intensity and also allows the puddle to solidify faster, giving more control over the weld puddle. Also, since the current doesn't stay at that peak setting through 100% of the weld, it also reduces the amount of heat that is put into the workpiece. This makes pulse MIG welding great for aluminum and thin metal, where it can be easy to warp or burn through your workpiece. Okay, so I've got my 1/8 inch thick aluminum set up here on my welding table. I am going to do a single pulse weld. Remember, I am using the default out of the box settings for 1/8 inch aluminum that is set on the DP200, and I've just got single pulse turned on. I've also got my close-up camera hiding behind this welding helmet right here, so hopefully you guys can see what I see. So pay attention to the noise that this arc is making. You can actually hear a buzzing noise, and that is the pulse being added to the current. And this is what that single pulse weld looks like. It looks like it did a pretty good job, and if we flip it over here on the bottom, you can see that it didn't burn through. So now let's take a look at double pulse MIG welding. It has all of the benefits of single pulse MIG welding, but it has even better heat control. And with a little bit of practice, it's possible to create that stack of dimes look that's often associated with TIG welding. Let's take a look at this chart, and you can see we keep the original pulse to the current that is added by the welder, but now a second pulse is added that alternates between a primary current and a background current that we can set on the welder. Not only do we have control over how much the background current is reduced, we also have control over how long and how often the second pulse is added to the current of the weld. You can see on the chart that the second pulse will take place 1 time per second. That is called the frequency, and the primary current, 115 amps, will be on 50% of the time. The background current, 90 amps, will also be on the other 50% of the time. That is called the duty cycle. Here's another example where the same values are used, but this time the primary current will be on for 75% of 1 cycle, and the background current will be on for 25% of 1 cycle. Okay, so I've got the DP200 set up to do dual pulse welding, and I've got my 1/8 inch aluminum set up here on the weld table. And I do want to point out that the DP200 does not have a synergic setting for the dual pulse feature. So what I've done is I've loaded in my personal favorites setting for dual pulse on 1/8 inch aluminum, and I will put these up on the screen while I'm welding so you can see what I'm using. But I will also say that I have not achieved the skill to get the perfect stack of dimes look like what you get with TIG welding. I can get it close. I will say that I have found that I get better results if I back down the current and the voltage just a little bit from what the default settings are for 1/8 inch aluminum. So pay attention to the sound this arc is making. You can definitely hear the original buzzing noise, but you can definitely see and hear that second pulse that's being added to the current as it alternates between the base and the background amperage. And this is what that double pulse weld looks like. You can see it's not that perfect stack of dimes, but it doesn't look bad either. I think with a little bit more practice and some dialing in, that wouldn't be hard to achieve with the double pulse. And if we look here on the back, you can see again, nothing burned through. All right, so let's move on to something thinner like this 16 gauge aluminum. This is some pretty thin stuff, and what I'm going to do is use the out-of-the-box default settings that the DP200 has for 16 gauge aluminum. But remember, the double pulse feature doesn't have any synergic settings. So what I'm going to do is load in my personal favorites for 16 gauge aluminum. This is what I have found works best for me. And I will put these settings up on the screen while I make this weld. And also I want to point out that I have been cleaning this aluminum. It is brand new aluminum. I've been using a dedicated stainless steel wire brush and then wiping it down with acetone before I've been making these welds. And also up until now, I have not been preheating the aluminum, but for this thin stuff to get the best result possible, I am going to preheat the aluminum before I make the weld. So here are the results of that 16 gauge aluminum, and that's not a bad weld if you ask me, especially for this thin material. It certainly isn't a pretty weld, but this isn't the pretty weld video. This is the double pulse weld video, and this is a double pulse weld. So let's flip it over on the back, and you can see that there was a little bit of heat showing through, but nothing burned through. So this is a pretty decent weld if you ask me, especially for thin 16 gauge aluminum. Okay, so let me explain the settings that I just used on that 16 gauge aluminum. One of the first things I had to change was the frequency. That's because I am moving the torch faster on this thinner material. So I bumped the frequency up to 2 Hertz. That means that double pulse loop makes 2 complete loops twice per second. Now, if you also remember, I said I was using the default out-of-the-box settings for 16 gauge aluminum that the DP200 is programmed for. That comes out to 161 inches per minute, which is roughly around 80 amps. So another thing I did to keep from burning through and warping this aluminum was I dialed the background or the base current back to 30%. So that roughly comes to 24 amps. So that means when that double pulse is down at its lowest setting, it is only set to 24 amps. Now, I also dialed back the duty cycle to 45%. That means that that maximum 80 amps, 161 inches per minute is only on 45% of one of those double pulse loops. The other 65%, the double pulse is set to that 30% setting, which is 24 amps. So that means that 45% of the time I'm at the max setting and the other 65% of the time I'm at the lower setting. Okay, so what have we learned? That is, if you are burning through your work pieces, you want to first decrease that base current, and then second, decrease the duty cycle. That way you still get the benefit of penetrating the weld and creating that weld puddle at your peak current, but that double pulse backing down also prevents a lot of heat from soaking in to your workpiece, and therefore it's harder to blow through or burn through your workpiece. Up until now, I have been demonstrating the double pulse feature with aluminum. However, the DP200 is capable of double pulse welding mild steel and stainless steel, and I just so happen to have some 16 gauge mild steel scrap laying around the shop. So let me set up the DP200 to do steel, and let's give this a try. And the process for changing the DP200 over to weld mild steel is pretty simple. First, I just have to change the wire and the drive roller inside of the machine. Then I've got to change over to a torch that does not have a graphene liner, so I'm just going to use the stock liner that comes with the machine. And then finally, I need to change the gas over to an argon CO2 mix. Now, if you remember back at the beginning of the video, I said that pulse welding is just a modified form of spray transfer. Now, for spray transfer, you're supposed to use 90% argon gas and 10% CO2. Where I live, that is a special order item. I can't just walk into the store and get 90-10 gas. It also only comes in large bottles, which is 300 cubic foot and larger. And for me to get that, I would have to rent a 300 cubic foot bottle for a year, and that just really exceeds the budget for this video. So I'm just going to use what I've got, and that is 75-25 gas. I just wanted to make you guys aware that this is a modified version of spray transfer, and it is recommended to use the 90-10 gas. Here's what that 16 gauge mild steel looks like. It started out really well, and then when I got down here, it started popping real bad. And you can also see here on the bottom, there is a little bit of spatter. And I wasn't able to 100% get rid of that spatter. I did get a little bit better result by increasing the CFM of the gas from 20 to 25. I also upped the peak current a little bit. Both of those seem to help, but like I said, it didn't completely get rid of the spatter. And if we flip it over and look on the bottom, you can see a heat line here, but nothing burned through. So this has been a fun video for me to make. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I also hope that you learned something today, and maybe you can take away some of the settings and all that I've shown you today and get started on your own double pulse welding at home. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I invite you to head over to my channel and check it out. There's going to be a lot of stuff over there you're probably going to be interested in. And if you learned something or you just had fun watching the video, please be sure and smash that like button. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.